Hidden behind steel doors lie the greatest stories the auto world forgot. From factory wars to near-death legends, this is Vaulted Wheels, unlocking the machines that built America.
Welcome to the Vaulted Wheels. Listen, in this explainer, we're opening the vault on a machine that, well, it completely transcends metal, rubber, and glass. We're setting the stage for an absolute cinematic legend today. It's a permanent monument to one man's totally uncompromising vision. And it all kicked off with a simple, yet literally impossible demand.
In 1986, an 88-year-old man who could barely see called his engineers into a room. He told them, "Build me the greatest car ever made." They had 13 months. What they built broke every record and became the last thing Enzo Ferrari ever created before he died.
Okay, let's dive into this. The emotional weight hanging over Maranello back in 1986, it honestly just can't be overstated. You've got Enzo Ferrari, known as Il Commendatore, or, to his rivals, Il Drake, the pirate. He was nearly 90 years old. The man had survived a world war, personal tragedies, corporate walkouts, the whole shebang. But by the mid-'80s, the automotive landscape was shifting dramatically right beneath his feet. Porsche had literally just dropped the 959, which was this all-wheel drive, computer-controlled spaceship that made traditional supercars look like ancient history. Enzo sensed the end was near, and there was absolutely no way he was going out building some computerized laboratory for the future. Actually, scratch that. He wanted one final manifesto, a raw, visceral middle finger to a changing world.
Let's move along and see how this builds, because that visceral response actually began with a brilliant piece of improvisation. So back in the mid-'80s, the FIA's Group B racing series was hands down the most extreme motorsport on the planet, period. Ferrari had developed the 288 GTO Evoluzione specifically for this super dangerous dirt track series. But when the FIA abruptly pulled the plug on Group B after a few fatal crashes, Ferrari was basically left holding these highly developed, ferociously powerful prototypes with literally nowhere to race them. Now, where other companies would just see a massive written-off investment, Enzo, he saw an opportunity. He decided to repurpose all their incredible track engineering into an absolute road-going weapon. And that opportunity came with a timeline that is, man, it's still hard to fathom even today. 13. Just 13 months. I mean, think about the cars sitting in your driveway right now. In the auto industry, development usually takes half a decade. 13 months? That's a sprint that borders on absolute lunacy. Project F120A began in June 1986, and they needed a finished, world-beating car ready for Ferrari's 40th anniversary in July 1987. A 13-month sprint from a sketch to a finished supercar was a frantic, rule-breaking pace that was just completely unheard of. So the crucial point is, to achieve the impossible here, Enzo knew the corporate bureaucracy had to die. So he granted his brilliant chief engineer, Nicola Materazzi, total, absolute autonomy. He gave Materazzi the freedom to handpick his dream team and work completely unhindered by management. In fact, Enzo famously jotted down a quick note in his agenda regarding the management style for this project: no ballbusters. Classic Enzo, right? He just wanted a car that would show the entire world exactly what Ferrari was made of. And to show the world what Ferrari was made of, well, you gotta start with the heart of the beast. Enzo explicitly stated he wanted a car that could remind us of Le Mans, paying respect to the company's hardcore racing heritage. And man, what Materazzi and his team delivered was a masterclass in controlled violence. This propelling unit wasn't just an engine, it was a pure, unfiltered expression of power that was engineered to absolutely dominate.
Now, what's really interesting here is how the philosophy behind these brutal specs broke every single rule in the exotic car playbook. At the time, if you wanted extreme supercar power, the standard approach was just to cram in a massive heavy V12. I mean, Lamborghini Countach used a 5.2-liter V12. Even Ferrari's own Testarossa ran a 4.9-liter 12-cylinder. But for the F40, they went with a relatively compact 2.9-liter twin-turbocharged V8, breathing through dual IHI turbochargers. It was cast in Silliman alloy with a solid steel billet crank, pushing out an official 478 horsepower, though, let's be real, early European models were definitely pushing closer to 500. This twin-turbo V8 engine design shattered the heavy V12 norm. It proved once and for all that a forced induction setup could deliver shattering, race car-level performance right on the street.
Diving into the pure mechanical engineering, you can almost sense the Jekyll and Hyde nature of its power delivery. Guys, this was not your smooth, predictable modern engine. Below 3,500 RPM, it was actually remarkably quiet, almost docile. But the literal second you crossed that threshold and those turbos spooled up, boom, it unleashed a barely contained fury. Just imagine cruising quietly and then suddenly you are holding on for dear life as all that boost hits at once. It was explosive, it was raw, and it demanded absolute respect and serious skill from the driver just to keep it on the tarmac.
To handle that kind of explosive power, Ferrari had to completely rethink the very bones of the car. While standard 1980s manufacturing relied heavily on stamped steel and materials focused on comfort, the F40 just threw all of that out the window. It pioneered a super lightweight chassis construction, using a race-grade tubular steel space frame that was reinforced with bonded composite materials. This was a real game-changer. It was the first series production car in the world to feature a body constructed almost entirely out of kevlar, carbon fiber, and aluminum. The ultimate overriding goal here? Extreme lightness.
And this brilliantly illustrates how every single curve of that ultra-lightweight body was sculpted just to cheat the wind. Under the direction of legendary designer Leonardo Fioravanti at Pininfarina, the F40 was honed extensively in the wind tunnel. Everything about its aerodynamic profile was a strict, functional requirement for handling extreme speed. Those iconic NACA air vents carved into the bodywork, the sharply sloped nose, and of course that massive perpendicular rear spoiler, yeah, they weren't just for show. They were vital aerodynamic tools needed to keep the car absolutely glued to the road at speeds that most aircraft literally take off at.
But listen, this ruthless commitment to extreme lightness, it came at a steep, almost masochistic price inside the cabin. This was a defiant, stubborn rejection of the electronic age. You got no ABS to save you under hard braking, no power steering to help you muscle it through a turn, no carpets, no sound deadening, no way to even listen to a radio because there wasn't one. You didn't even get traditional door handles. You literally pulled a simple wire cord just to get out. It was just you, a steering wheel, 3 pedals, and a gated manual shifter. The car demanded a total unfiltered connection to the road.
And by stripping away every single conceivable luxury and utilizing those cutting-edge carbon and Kevlar composites we talked about, they hit this absolutely astonishing number, 1,100 kilograms. That is just over 2,400 pounds. Let that sink in for a second. When you take an ultra-lightweight 1,100 kilogram chassis and drop a 478 horsepower twin-turbo V8 into the middle of it, you're looking at a power-to-weight ratio of over 430 brake horsepower per ton. It was the ultimate formula for sheer terror and absolute ecstasy.
Which all culminated in this historic, truly triumphant milestone right here, 201 miles per hour. Thanks to that massive power, the aerodynamic mastery, and the extreme lack of weight, the Ferrari F40 became the very first production road car in human history to officially break the 200-mile-per-hour barrier, period. It wasn't just fast for 1987, it was a total paradigm shift in what a road-legal machine was actually capable of achieving.
Now, what makes this whole thing even more incredible is the absolute cloak of secrecy surrounding that 13-month sprint. I mean, from the initial silhouette sketches all the way to the final production model, almost no one outside of Enzo's inner circle even knew this car existed. Ferrari's own management was largely kept totally in the dark, and that level of secrecy perfectly set the stage for the July 21, 1987 reveal at the Civic Center in Maranello, an event that would absolutely go down in history.
Ferrari engineer Ermanno Bonfiglioli captured the electricity of that moment perfectly. He said, "I have never experienced a presentation like that of the F40. When the car was unveiled, a buzz passed through the room, followed by thunderous applause. No one, except for close associates, had yet seen it. It was a total shock to the system for the automotive press." In what would turn out to be his very last public appearance, wearing those trademark dark sunglasses, Enzo Ferrari had just dropped a nuclear bomb on the industry. And man, that bomb triggered an absolute frenzy. The demand was so rabid that a massive price scandal actually erupted. Buyers who were lucky enough to get an allocation were immediately flipping the cars for up to 3 times the factory asking price before they even took delivery.
But that triumph was accompanied by a ticking clock. Just 13 months after witnessing the launch of his ultimate creation, Enzo Ferrari passed away on August 14, 1988, at the age of 90. His passing marked the true, definitive end of an era. The F40 instantly transformed from a 40th anniversary celebration into this permanent, rolling monument to a man who lived a life entirely defined by passion, speed, and a total refusal to compromise. It's a legacy so potent that today, a well-preserved F40 easily commands upwards of $2 to $3 million at auction. It stands, without a doubt, as the absolute zenith of the analog supercar.
When Enzo Ferrari died, he left the world one last message. It had a twin-turbo V8, no radio, and could do 201 miles per hour. As we move further and further into this silent, electric age we're in now, we really have to ask ourselves, are we ever going to see a machine with this much soul ever again?